All right, in our last video, we talked about doing some basic retouching, and this video picks up right where we left off. I'm here in Effects, I've added my photo, I've gone in and selected the skin retouching filter, and I've used a mask to paint it in just where I wanted to do it. If you didn't watch the video before this, be sure you watch that, and that'll cover the basics of how to start and use that skin retouching paint. Now let's talk about how to fine-tune and improve this photo a little bit. One of the things that will happen is there will be larger imperfections that you can't remove automatically. And that's where you use either the retouch brush or the perfect eraser retouching tools to remove those. For me, I tend to like the retouch brush better when I'm working on a portrait. It allows you to control the feather and the opacity, so it's a better tool for smoothing things out. Now, sometimes you want to use the perfect eraser on large things you want to remove completely. I'll show you the difference here. I'm just going to grab the perfect eraser first, and I'm going to use this on any really big objects that I want to get rid of. So, for example, she's got a mole right over here. I can just paint over that, and the whole mole will go away. It's also quite good if you want to remove stray hairs. I can paint over an entire stray hair, and it does a good job of removing the hair but maintaining any edges when the hair crosses over something like the cheek. But the perfect eraser is a little heavy-handed for doing more subtle retouching. That's where we'll use the retouch brush instead. And again, the reason I like it is I can feather it so I can make it softer and blend in, and I can control its opacity. When I'm doing skin retouching, I use it at about 50%. And then I can build up strokes on areas I want to soften. So I can simply brush over an area to soften it instead of remove it. It's great for things like eye bags under eyes for smoothing those out. Like that. And also for smoothing out texture across maybe the top of the eye socket or on the nose. It'll soften it, but without killing all the texture. That texture is part of the structure. It's what makes the photo. If we remove all the texture, the face will look really flat. There we go. So you can see how you can use that to smooth out some of those little imperfections, but maintain the texture in the skin. All right, I'm going to go back to fit, and we're going to talk a little bit about the color of the skin. Now, she has very fair skin. It's quite light, and she also has a little bit of a pink or red tint to her skin. The evenness slider will help to reduce that difference in the color across the skin, but if I turn it all the way up, she gets kind of a fake painted look to her skin. So I can't turn it all the way up, but I can use it at a moderate setting around 40 or 50, and then I can actually shift the skin color if I want to by clicking on the skin color pop-up. This will bring up the color picker. I can then push it in the direction that I want. A lot of times I'll bring that up, and then I'll grab the saturation slider and I'll bring it up. That'll let me shift the skin to make it look stronger, and I can also shift the hue a little bit, maybe to push it in the direction that I want. So I can add it a little bit more yellow to it, just like that. So there we go. I'm working in HSB, but you could work in RGB or whatever color model you're comfortable with. Now, one other technique that you can use, and this is if you have a photo with really rough skin and you've turned that smoothing slider up a lot, is to add back in an artificial texture to the skin. I'm going to show you how to do that. Before we do it, a crucial step is to make sure you copy the mask that you used for the skin. So while I have the masking section open, I'll hit the copy button. There we go. We'll click on Add Filter, and I'm going to add a black and white. Now, obviously this makes your photo black and white normally, but if you click on the blending option slider and change your blend mode to luminosity, now all you're going to get is the light and dark of the black and white filter, not the actual color change from it. I can then scroll down to the film grain section, and I can add film grain to simulate texture on the skin. When you do this, you definitely want to zoom in pretty close on the skin, 100% or so you can see what it looks like. The other thing you need to do is probably paste in that mask so that the texture only gets applied to the skin. So to paste that in, open up the masking section and hit the paste button. Now the grain that you add will only apply to the skin. Then down in the grain section, just pick a grain pattern that you like that looks like it would match her skin. Usually something in the 400 range works pretty well. You can then adjust the size to match her pore structure, and the amount you want to keep pretty low, probably around 50%, just like that. And that'll help add back in a little bit more of a realistic looking skin texture to your photo. All right, there we go. Let's take a look at the before and after. There's our original, and after a little bit of retouching. All right, next video we're going to talk about how to enhance the eyes and the mouth. Thanks for watching.